Hello, this is Keith O and welcome back. Today's tutorial is going to be part one in a series of two, and basically I'm going to show you how to do basic filtering using Python within Excel. And of course, these methods can also be transferred to if you're going to run Python in an IDE in something like Jupyter Notebooks. So the formulas are the same. I'm just using Python and Excel. I'm also gonna do this instead of filtering based upon a data set that's already in Excel. We're gonna load it up into Power Query first, and then we're gonna run it from there. Now, in my data set, it's only 5,000 rows, so I could easily fit this in my Excel spreadsheet. But there are times as a data analyst that you're going to deal with more than what Excel can handle, specifically more than 1,000,000 plus rows. And so in that case, you would have to then use Power Query. But today I want to show you the Power Query method and see how that works with Python and Excel. So our first step is I'm going to load up a data set. So basically you go up to data, and then you could go from, in my case, it's a CSV. You could click on this, or you could get data from file and then CSV. Okay, I'm going to navigate now to my data set, which is already up here. So I select that, click import, give it a second to load up. Okay, once it does that, at this point, I don't need to transform the data. I just want to load it into Excel through a connection only. So instead of loading this data set back into Excel, I'm going to basically use a connection only, which means that I'm just going to keep it in memory. So I'm going to select this right here, and I'm going to select load to. Okay, then it gives you the option. See the option here? It says only create a connection. That's what I want to do in this case. I'm not going to add it to a data model or anything like that. I'm just going to create a connection to it. Click OK. And then over here on the right, it shows our queries and connections. This is the name of the table, product sales data, connection only, as you can see. And if you close out of this, you could get back to that by going up to data and then see the queries and connections. Just click on that and it brings it back. So basically our first step is going to be creating a data frame from the data that we just loaded through Power Query. So I'm going to click on a cell and I'm going to type in equals py, tab into it, and that puts me into Python command mode. And again, let's take a step back. If you don't have Python in your formula yet, as you can see here, insert Python, it gets rolled out to however they determine it gets rolled out to your Microsoft Excel 365 subscription, and eventually it'll pop up into your version. It took a while for me to get it, but it's just one of those days you log in and all of a sudden you have your options up here. Anyways, let's go back down here and now let's create a data frame. Now I'm going to name my data frame just df and then equals, and then I'm going to type in my connection only product. Excel, it's actually Excel and then product. As it pops up through IntelliSense, product sales data, tab into that. And then I also want to add into that headers equal true. Okay, and then press Control Enter. Give it a second to come back. Okay, so right now it executed this line of code. Basically, what this is doing is there's a specific Excel function now within using Python, Excel, and then you supply it with your data set. Either it could be a range within your Excel spreadsheet, or in this case, it was my product sales data connection that we created through Power Query. And headers equal true. Basically, it brings in the headers. So let's click on this. And as you can see, it brought back the headers of my data set. So what it does is it brings back the first 5 rows, and then these 3 dots are ellipses, and then those are the records in between the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows. And that's basically what that is. So these are all the column names and data that was brought back through that query. And what this means up here, 5,000 by 13, that means it brought back 5,000 rows with 13 columns. So that's what that means. So right now it brought back an object. If you look up here to the left of the formula bar, you have here called Python output. And either you could bring back a Python object, which is what we brought back here, or an Excel value. If I select that, it's just going to spit out the results, basically spit out all the columns and all the rows in my data frame into your spreadsheet. That's what that will do, but I will refrain from doing that. So our next step here is I'm going to give you an example of, well, how do I get the count of the rows that were returned? And I just showed you this is one way to do it. The other way is by entering another Python command equal py, and then I'm going to type in my name of my data frame, which is I call df dot, and then shape. Okay, if I just leave it as this, Control Enter, give it a second to come back, it brings back a tuple in Python. Let's do this. So a 2 by 1. So basically it's a 1 column, 2 rows. And this right here, the first one is 5,000. That means it's the number of rows that are in my data frame. And 13 means it's the number of columns. So if I just wanted to bring back the number of rows, all I would have to do is use an index type syntax, which is I'm going to pass it a list by using square brackets, 0, closing that out. Now what this means is I'm going to grab the first, what we just saw there, which was the rows. And that's what 0 means. It means to bring back the number of rows. Let's press Control Enter again. And as you can see, it brought back 5,000. So that's the number of rows in my data frame. Now let's say that you want to list out the column names. So in order to do that in Python, again, let's enter Python command mode equal py, tab into that, and I'm going to press data frame dot columns, and then Control Enter. That brings back an index. Now let's, because I have it as bringing back a Python object. So as you can see here, but now let's spit this out as column names. A few ways to do that. You could go up here, click on that, select Excel value here. You could right click on this and say Python output, select Excel value, or you could use the shortcut key Control Shift Alt M as in Mary, and you'll see in a second. Spell, give me a second. let me, a spill error in Excel means that it's trying to spill the results of your output, but something is blocking the output. So I'm going to scroll down here. Let's move this here and just highlight it. And then I'm going to move it. Okay. Scroll back up here. And as you can see, it spilled the results now because nothing was blocking it no more. So in other words, these are the names of the columns in my data frame. Okay. So now let's get into the filtering basics. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today is string filtering, numeric filtering, and date filtering on this data frame. Next week's video is I'm going to expand upon this, but we're going to talk about other types of filtering within Python. Okay, let's scroll down here. Now, I want to, before I get into that, I want to give you the example of how filtering is done in Python. So you have an idea when we go through these other examples, you have an idea of what's um, going to happen. So my first step is I'm going to put in Python mode and how data frames are filtered. Tab into that. I'm going to press the name of my data frame, df, which we named before, and I'm going to pass it the column name for in this example because I want to show you how this works. So I'm going to select the product line column, okay, close out of that, and I'm going to get the unique product line values that exist in this data frame. So I'm going to type in dot unique, press Control Enter, and it brings back this array. Now let's get the Excel values of it. Okay, so these are the unique values that exist in my data frame. In other words, my data set. So out of the 5,000 rows in the product line column, you have these values in there, and all I did was grab the unique values from there. So that's what that is. Now let's get into an example of filtering on this, what this happens. So first of all, let's do this. Let's return equal py, and I'm going to type in data frame again, product line. So what I'm doing is I'm telling Python to access the product line column within my data frame. Okay, and then I'm going to ask it, is it equal to, I do use double equal signs for this, is it equal to this value over here? Now I could actually type in the word monitors in double quotes, or I could select a value from here, and I'm going to select the value from here. And then I'm going to press Control Enter to commit the line here. And what this is doing is seeing what it does. It brings back a series, meaning a series is one column, a data. But you're probably asking, well, I see two columns here. You get this and then this. Well, what this is basically this is the index here, and this is the actual column. So that's why it's called a series. It's 5,000 rows by one column. Okay, so as you can see here, it brings back trues and falses. So it goes against the data frame. For row number 1, it asks whether or not the product line value in row number 1 is equal to monitors. If it is, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. So that's what I mean by a Boolean mask. So right now this is a Boolean mask. So what I want to do then is now I want to take this Boolean mask and I'm going to ask Python to use this Boolean mask against every single row in my data frame. And what that does is it's going to go to row number 1, and I'm going to be passing it true for row number 1, which means that it's only going to return row 1 as, in this case, it will return it because it's true. Goes to row number 2, and then it passes a false value. So it won't return that row in my filter. Okay, so it does that for every single row in my data frame. It passes this Boolean mask, this trues and falses for each and every single row. So now let's go over here. Now let's get into the filter portion of it. So I'm going to type in equal py, and then I'm going to pass it my name in my data frame, square brackets. Now I'm going to pass it this Boolean mask. So basically I'm going to redo this. So data frame, product line, okay, is equal to this value over here. And then I'm going to close out the filter of it with another square bracket. So basically what I did was, what Python does, it executes this code here first. It returns a Boolean mask, which what we saw over here. Once it does that, then it asks Python to use that Boolean mask against my data frame. And it only returns the rows in that Boolean mask that are true. So press Control Enter, and it brings back an object. Let's click on this. So as you can see, it brought back only the rows, okay, in my data frame that have the value of monitors in the product line column. So that's how filtering does. So I want you to keep in mind when we go through these other examples, this is how it works, okay? So let's scroll back up here. Now let's go into the individual filtering. So in this case, I want to look at the customer name column, okay, and I wanted to bring back only customer names that start with the letter B. So how do we do that? So let's go in here, data frame. I'm going to pass in my filter, data frame. I'm going to ask it to look at the customer name column, close that out, and I'm going to use a string accessor within Python, which is str, that provides other functionality on string values, basically. So one thing about the string accessor, it has a starts with method, and I'm going to pass it B. Oh, let's close that out. And let's close out the filter. Control Enter. Oh, I did something wrong here. Just a second. Give me a second. Know what I did here. I have to enter in. Let's copy this so I don't have to do it again. I have to enter in Python mode, command mode first, tab into that. Now I want to do that. Press Control Enter. Okay, brings back a data frame. So let's go up here. It brought back 222 rows. Let's go over to the customer name column. As you can see, it brought back values with the capital B because that's what I passed it. So now let's do this now with, let's find a product name. Okay, let's go to the product name column, or let's see, it's actually product line column. Okay, and we're going to ask it, well, let's bring back a product line that has, okay, let's go down here, that ends in the letter S. As you can see, these are the unique values of product lines. As you can see, um, uh, all of them end with the letter S except for one. So you won't see mice anywhere in this result set. So how do we do that? Let's go Python command mode, then data frame, then data frame, product line, dot string accessor dot ends with. Okay, as you can see here, now it brought back a lot of rows, okay, 4,300 rows. So let's scroll over here. As you can see, product line, anything that ends with S. So as you can see that it's doing that, its job here. Now let's do something else. Now let's say you want to bring back a certain phrase within a text string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the product description column, and I'm going to look for a product description that has the word certain in it anywhere within that. It could be at the beginning or end or anywhere in the middle. So let's do this. py Python command mode, data frame, and I'm going to use the product description. And string accessor dot contains, another method. Okay, and I'm going to pass it the word that I'm searching for, CERTAIN. Okay, now there's another argument that you could pass, and I'm going to press case. Do I want it to look for uppercase or lowercase? So what I want to do is I want to pass it the value false, because I don't care about the case in this situation. Just click on here. Let's go over to product description. It brought back 50 rows. And as you can see, let's look at it certain. So it looks for certain. Again, I passed it in all lowercase letters, but since I passed it in with the option of case false, it doesn't matter about the case. So here you have all lowercase here. Let's go down here. You have lowercase here. It's in the middle. You have lowercase towards the end of the phrase, certain at the beginning. So that's how that works. Okay, now I want to pass it in another situation. I'm going to look at the region column, okay, and I'm going to ask it to look for exactly EAST, meaning uppercase E, AST. So I'm going to Python command mode, data frame. I'm passing it to filter now, data frame. Looking at the region column, I'm asking it to look for east, exactly east as you see here. Close out the filter of that, press Control Enter. Let's look at the region column. It brought back 1,258 rows. Here's the region. As you can see, it brought back only rows with region of East. Okay. Now let's go up here and let's do numeric filtering. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's look at the quantity column. Okay. Equal PY for command mode. I'm going to pass it in data frame, my data frame. I'm asking it now to look at the quantity column. And I'm asking it now, is it greater than 10? And I'm going to close out the filter, press Control Enter. Let's click on the Python object that it returned. Brought back 2,400 rows. Let's go to the quantity column. Let's see. As you can see what this does, let's scroll. Let's make this a little bit larger. And it does bring it back, but it's just right here what Python does with this. So let's so you could be assured that it brought back quantity of greater than 10. Okay. So another way that you could actually view the quantity column is what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a filtered data frame, a separate data frame from my other one. So I'm just going to name it filtered equal. So it brings back, it takes this results of this, creates a new data frame called filter, plus enter in there. And now I just want to access the quantity column out of this filtered data frame. So I type in filtered, access the quantity column out of there, and then press Control Enter. I'm only bringing back one column now. So that's why it's bringing back a series over here. So let's press on the object. And as you can see, the quantity column brings back any rows that are greater than 10, as you can see for the values here. Again, it's only, right now, it's only displaying the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows of the data frame that it returns out of these 2,400 records. Okay. So let's go on to another one. It says unit price, okay, less than or equal to 500. So the same thing. Let's go back over here. PY. Tab into it, and I'm going to just create another data. I want to show you the same thing. Filtered 1 equal to my data frame. And now I'm passing in my filter. Okay, I'm looking at the unit price column. Now I'm asking it, is it less than or equal to 500? Okay, now I want to close out the filter. I'm going to press enter. And now I want to only display the unit price column now out of this filtered data frame. Okay, it looks at the unit price. What did I say? Anything less than 500, right? So as you can see, all these values are less than 500. Now let's go into like an AND condition, and I'm going to look for total price between 1,000 and 5,000. So let's go ahead and do this. So PY for command mode, and then total price, passing in the data frame, and I'm going to ask it to look at the total price column. And I'm going to ask it, is it greater than 1,000? So anything between 1,000 and 5,000. But I need to do something else here first. I need to separate these conditions in its own set of brackets. Okay. And I'll explain this further once we enter in everything. And then my second condition is my data frame. Again, I'm going to pass it total price, close that out. And then is it less than 5,000? 1, 2, 3. And close out that other condition, close out the filter, press Control Enter. Brings back a whole data frame because it's bringing back all the columns. Okay, let's see if total price is viewable here. It's not, so let's do this again here. Let's pass it to another data frame. I'm going to only access filtered to DOTALPRIC. Press Control Enter. So total price, is it greater than 1,000 but less than 5,000? As you can see here, out of these examples that are brought back, it's true. So let's go back to this formula here. So think about what I said at the beginning about the basics of filtering, how this works. What Python is doing, I'm first passing this condition here. That's why I have to separate each condition by its own set of brackets. Okay, so Python is going to look at this condition here first, and it's going to go through every single row in that data frame, and it's going to see whether or not it's true or false. If it is, it brings back the result set. So this is going to bring back a separate Boolean mask. Then it's going to go over here and do the same thing for this condition. Okay, it's going to bring back a Boolean mask. So at this point, once those two conditions are executed, then it's going to take the two Boolean masks, and it's going to bring, so let's say, for example, the first row of this Boolean mask is true, and the first row of this Boolean mask is false. So if that's the case, it's not going to return a new row of true, because you have a true and false. So it's going to look for matches of both trues in this Boolean mask and a true over here. If it does, it brings back that row as a true. And then once it combines those two Boolean masks, it brings back a third Boolean mask with nothing but trues in it. And then it's going to pass that Boolean mask to my data frame, and that's how the rows will get returned. And hopefully that makes sense to you, how that works. Now let's do an example of not equal to something. So let's go here, equal py, tab into this data frame, and then data frame, I'm looking at the quantity column. Uh, Data frame. Close that out. The not equal operator is exclamation point and an equal sign. 15. Do that. Control Enter. Okay, it's not, we're not going to see the quantity column here, but let's go back to as you can see, it brought back, let's go back here, brought back 4,700 rows. So again, let's go over here, create a new data frame. And out of this new data frame, I just want to access the quantity column. And since I'm only accessing one column out of this data frame here, it's going to bring back a series. Click on here, and as you can see, the quantity column is not equal to 15. Any of these values are not equal to 15, okay? So now let's go back to go into our last section of filtering for this tutorial, and we're going to look at date filtering. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to press equal data frame equal py Python command mode data frame, and I'm going to look at the ordered date column. And is it greater than orders placed after January 1st, 2024? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be passing in 2024-01-01. Press Control Enter. Let's see if this shows up here. Order date. As you can see, order date right here. So what did we ask it to? Look at the order date column and ask it if it's greater than 1/1 of 2024. And as you can see with these examples here, that's true. It only brought back rows that have an order date greater than 1/1 of 2024. Now let's go over here to this condition here. Orders with a delivery date before today. Well, today I'm recording this as 6/16/2025. So I'm going to look for an order date that is less than today's date. And in order to do this, we have to look at how is Power Query and an Excel storing this column of data, this order date. So let's first go over to this column here. I want to look at the data type of the delivery date column. So let's go over here, PY, and I'm going to check the data type for it, delivery dot data type. Give it a second. Okay, there was an error. Just a second. So it says key error delivery. So I misspelled the column name. That's all that was. So there is no column name with delivery. It's called delivery date. So that's what I was getting a key error on it. So whenever you get an error using Python within Excel, you get this little a box over here towards the right that will spit out the error when there's a problem with it. So that's what you saw here before. So let's press Control Enter again. So the data type of this column, the delivery date column, is a date time 64 data type, which means there's a date portion of it and there's also a time portion um, um, attached to it. So I'm going to show you something here first, and I'm going to go ahead and then we're going to re-edit it so it equals everything within what's in Power Query. So I'm going to press, let's do equal py, tab into it. I'm passing it the data frame, and I'm asking it to look at the delivery date column. Is it less than the today's date? In order to get that, pandas has a function called toDateTime. So I'm going to show you in a second what's going to happen. So pd dot to underscore date time. I'm going to pass into it today. And then that closes out that. Let's close out the filter. Let's press Control Enter. There was an error, just a second. Let's see what this brings up. I misspelled it again. See, it says error, key error. So it brings up the Python editor whenever Excel and Python encounter an error with your code, and it states that a key error. So I just spelled it's wrong. So let's go over here, delivery, Control Enter. So it brings back a data frame. So it brought back 1,017 rows, okay, out of here. So let's look at this. Now let's go back into Power Query, and I want to see if something matches up here. Let's go back to our query, our data, queries and connections. Let's double click on that. And this is our data that's stored in memory. Let's go over to the delivery date column. Here's the delivery date. Okay. Let's look at this. Now let's query this. And I basically want to return rows in here that matches what we just stated here in Python. So I want to look at the delivery date, okay, that is before today's date. So I select the delivery date column, and then we select this drop-down arrow because we want to do a date filter. And then over here, we want to do it before today. So I'm going to select today's column. So before today, click on OK. And if you look down here at the bottom, it brings back 838 rows. Now we have to figure out why in Excel, once we go back there, it brought back a lot more than what we see here in in Power Query. So we want to get that matched up. So this is 838 rows. Now let's close out of here. I want to discard the changes I made. Okay, let's close out of here. And let's see how we can get this to match up. So let's look at this. We're looking for 838 rows. And right now this is bringing back over 1,000 rows. And we have to figure out why that is. Well, the reason is because if you look at this code, I'm asking it to look at today's date to bring back the date and time. So right now this is bringing back the date portion of today and also today's time. So in that case, it's trying to compare a date time to something over here that is not a date time field. So that's why that is. So let's correct this. So in order to correct this, we want to extract just the date portion of today's date. And we do that by typing in D date. Okay. And now we want to compare the date to this field, but we also have to convert this value here. So we want to then type in a DT accessor, which brings up all different functions for this field. And I'm going to ask it to pass in date. Let's press Control Enter. Brings back a data frame. Now you could see it brought back exactly the same number of records as we did in Power Query. I wanted to bring this to your attention because you have to be understand how Python is accessing your date. You have to compare the exact same values together. If you're trying to look at date filtering, you want to compare dates to dates, not dates to date time or vice versa. So I wanted to bring that up to you so you see that. So let's see how can we bring back between two dates. So let's do this. PY, tab into this, pass in our data frame, and I'm going to pass in the order date column. Okay, close that out. Greater than or equal to 2023-06-01. Close that out. Close out this condition. Let's go back over here because I need to put in, these are separate conditions it's looking for. And then, and here's my second condition. Oh. Less than or equal to 2023-12-31. Close out that condition. Let's close out the filter. Control Enter. Give it a second. Okay. Let's look in here. Now let's go over to the order date column. Here's the order date. So what do we ask it? We ask it to bring back anything between two dates, meaning 6/1/2023. It also includes that date, greater than and less than 12/31/2023. So you can see that it's bringing back the correct values in this data frame. Now let's go back here. Let's look at this. You're probably asking now, why didn't we have to type in the other extra code like .dt.date or something like that, because right now with these conditions, I'm asking it to look at the date portion only of the values in this column by passing it the date format that you see here. It's not in a date time format. I'm asking it to compare the date value of it. So that's why I didn't have to use .dt.date. So hopefully, I know this was a long tutorial, but hopefully this gave you an idea of how to do filtering within Python, whether it's directly in Excel or if it's standalone using your individual IDE. I use Jupyter notebooks to do that. But again, hopefully this gave you a better idea of how filtering is actually done in Python. And next week, look forward to another tutorial on we're going to do different types of filtering in that. So again, I want to thank you for spending your time today. I know it was long, but it should be very useful for you. And remember to subscribe to my channel, and also please like and share this video so this gets out to more people. Thanks again. You have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.